the good news is you're already you. So trying to be something should be pretty easy when it's already in you, right? Like you already have it in you. You have a unique energetic signature. You have a unique human design. You have a unique perspective. Your experiences are unique. Your coding, what you came to this world and entered this body with, is unique. So you don't have to try to create your authentic voice. It's already there. Okay, I am dying to tell you this. There's a new way to start watching my on-demand business courses for $22 a month. I'll get into the details in just a moment. This is our April announcements before we kick off the episode. Let's walk through the things that you need to know this month about how you can work with me in different containers. Number one, as you've heard me say on the podcast for a few episodes now, I'm teaching a new content course. It's actually starting in April, and it will be 4 live modules happening throughout the month. And I'm actually customizing the curriculum based on your sticky points. The goal of the course is for you to learn how to create authentic content for your business that feels easeful for you, and for you to learn how to get all of those ideas that are swirling around inside your head into actual pieces of content that your audience can easily digest consistently. Consistency was like the biggest thing I heard from you when it comes to your desire for content creation, is you all want consistency, and I can help with that. And also know that consistency is going to look different for all of us. Another way to say this, the goal is for you to cut the shit with perfectionism when it comes to content creation, with confusion, with lack of confidence in yourself and in your posts and in your words and in your speaking and in your writing. And that feeling of, well, what do I say? And just kind of staring at blank space, at blank paper, or at an empty Google Doc. There's 2 ways that you can experience this course with me. The first, as we've shared in the past episodes, is the Evolutionary Business School. So members of the Evolutionary Business School get to come to the classes live. The beauty of that is there's an opportunity for Q&A at the end of the modules, and it's a little bit more interactive. And then, of course, when you're in the business school, you automatically come to the twice monthly small group coaching sessions, and you have access to the community. So it's not just watching the course. You get to actually I want you to bring the content that you're working on, bring samples of the things that you're building throughout the course to the sessions so that I can give you real-time feedback and more guidance. I'm bringing in these content brainstorm sessions to our live small group coaching because that is one of the things that I have loved doing with my clients in the past. I often find that on our private calls, somehow we end up in this space of content brainstorming. They're telling me all the things they're working on. They're telling me about their programs. They're telling me about their offers. And I start spewing out all of these content ideas. It's like, it truly is magical. And I want to bring that to the Evolutionary Business School. So look out for that if you're a member. If you're not a member, open invitation. Enrollment is always open. You can hop in and we'll catch you up to speed. The second way you can experience the new content course, this is actually brand new. And it's something I referenced in the first line of this podcast. Welcome to the portal. The portal is exactly what it sounds like. It is a portal of all of my self-paced, on-demand business development / personal development courses. So the content course replays will be added to the portal after the course is complete. Now, what's already in the portal? So if you remember, last quarter, I taught Stand Out Online and Grow Your Online Presence. That course in the portal. Rebirth Codes I taught in the fall of 2022 in the portal. 7-figure keys that I taught also at the end of 2022 in the portal. Just Start, my new 9-chapter audiobook, in the portal. A collection of guided business healing meditations in the portal. And then, of course, you'll have access to, and I almost forgot, magnetic marketing. So magnetic marketing was a course that I taught last year in the portal, and I've bundled it with additional marketing classics. So trainings that I had on marketing that were timeless. So in addition, I've added some of my other older classic courses, course creation, selling courses, audience expansion. So what's the catch, right? Because here's the thing, when you purchase these courses separately, the total value of what's already inside the portal is over $2,000. The truth is, there is no catch. The introductory price when you join this month in April is $22 a month. or you can pay for the year and you get 1 month free. So effectively it's $242 and you get a full year of access. Again, there's no catch. It all started to kind of connect and land because I am an avid digital course student. I take a lot of personal development courses and metaphysical courses, some business stuff, money courses. Like I do a lot of digital learning. And what I've noticed about myself is I hardly ever show up to live classes. It's not because I don't want to. It's because I have a lot of freaking life going on. I have a lot of kids, right? And even though my kids aren't babies anymore, here's the thing about that. They actually still need a lot. Their needs are different, but they still need a lot from you, even when they get older. And those of you listening with older kids, you're like, yep, true. And I want to do things with them, right? So I don't often prioritize attending certain classes live. When I can, I do, but I'm usually a replayer. I find pockets of time in my life when I would be scrolling social media or when I would be zoning out and Netflixing. And instead, I watch replays of courses that I've purchased. Actually, just this morning before recording this episode, I was watching a replay of a course that I bought 3 years ago. I decided to pick it back up. I have forever access to that particular one. And so because I know my habits, I thought, I want to make something like that for my community because I know that a lot of people listening to this have a lot of children, or you have young children, or you're caring for a parent who's aging and has medical needs that needs you, or you are wearing whatever hats you're wearing. You have a lot of business. You're in person doing lactation consults and yoga classes and fill in the blank. And so you get to things when you get to things. The other thing that I noticed, I actually popped into the portal where my podcast episodes are stored. I don't often go in there and look, but this morning I happened to go in and look because I was like, I wonder what my statistics are like lately for people watching the show, listening to the show. One of the things I noticed is that many people are not necessarily listening to the episode the week it comes out. It sometimes is taking people, when I see like at what point in time people, like the number of downloads for the first week and then the first 2 weeks and then, something like that. It sometimes is taking you guys a month to listen to an episode. And what I realized about that is like, you are so much like me. It's very rare that as soon as something comes out, I'm going and watching and listening. I often have a lot of stuff happening. And so I watch on my own time. I realized in my business, my community, this is something you need. Now, something you should know about me is one of the things about my human design is I need motivation. So even though I'm a projector, which generally I tend to have not as much energy or energetic capacity to do certain things, unless of course the energy is correct, because of my need motivation, when I sense a need in my community, and you don't have to say, hey, Nicole, we need this. I can feel it. When I sense this need, I have like a surge of energy to create a solution. And because I sensed this a couple mornings ago, I felt this need coming up. When I did log into Instagram that morning, the very first thing that I saw, it wasn't exactly what I'm doing. It was a completely different business, a completely different business model and topics and everything. But with the first thing I saw, the post that I read was in the energy of what I'm talking about and what I had this hunch when I woke up thinking. Because at first my brain was like, have you lost your mind? You're batshit if you're going to make $2,000 worth of courses available to people for $22 a month. My brain had a heyday with this. It's illogical, but I don't live in the land of logic. And you know this. And I really feel like this is what it looks like to lead in a new business era, is to make decisions that don't seem logical, to make resources available to people who might not have access to the financial resources for your higher level programs right now. If I could work privately with all of you that desired it, I would love that. But the truth is, there are probably some people who right now that's just not financially in the cards. Now, does that mean that you just can't have any business development and support because you can't afford my private mentorship? Or because maybe even the business school is not financially in the cards right now? I say right now because like whatever position you're in financially right now is not permanent. And I firmly believe that. But what can you do right now? And so when I thought about what can I make available right now, $22 a month is generally something most people listening to this, if you want to learn from me, that is accessible right now. I mean, really, it's like the cost of a couple coffees at this point at Starbucks. So having said all of that, the wrap up of my second announcement is that the portal is right now $22 a month. You can hop into the portal and get started with any of the courses that I've mentioned. And once our content course is complete, I'll be adding it to the portal. And I thought of it as like this on-demand membership. It's almost like a Netflix, right? So it's like a business development Netflix. You pay $22 a month and you get to access as much or as little of the content that's there that you desire. You re-listen as often as you need. And actually, my advice is when you join the portal, have it playing in the background of your life, even if you're not working on one of the things, because I'm not only talking about like, okay, here's the tech skills that are needed to create a graphic. Those things are Googleable, right? Like there's YouTube tutorials everywhere that show you, and Canva makes it so freaking easy that like, I would bet my dad might even be able to do Canva. So I can guide with that, but my juice is deeper than that. So when you get into my business development courses, whatever the topics are, you're not going to be learning how to like click around in Canva to change the brand color palette. Have it playing in the back of your morning walk. And there's audios included in almost all of my courses. I have the video version and the audio version. So if you're out and about and you're in the car, you have commutes or you're on car line, it can be playing in the background of your life. This is the kind of thing that changes your life. It's the kind of thing that changes your business. When I made a shift and started to swap my minutes, that's probably been one of the biggest things that's impacted growth in my life. Instead of scrolling for 2 hours, swap 30 minutes, swap an hour, swap hour and 45 minutes. Have the discipline and take the self-responsibility to decide that if you want some change, you got to make some change. So again, hop into the portal, put these things on in the background of your life, and more will continue to be added over time. And as I teach other courses, usually I have something come out at least twice a year, but as it's looking this year, it's been quarterly. There have been new topics. So as more comes out, it'll be added to the portal. If you have any questions, feel free to shoot me a DM. My DMs are open. And again, the link to the portal is in the show notes if you want to like break down and see everything that's included. And actually on that page, you can click to each individual course to see everything that's in the course. Now, let's move on to my next announcement. My next announcement, Mother's Day, is quickly approaching. I've been starting to talk about and think about Mother's Day this year and how I made a reel and talked on IG stories. And if you're not following my stories, you should. My stories are bomb. I'm funny if I do say so myself. I'm cute if I do say so myself. And I share some wisdom in my IG stories. So I was sharing the other day about how I'm so effing tired of brunch being the end all for Mother's Day. Yes, I like eating. Yes, I like going to brunch. I enjoy good food, but like, I don't think that that's sufficient to honor mothers for Mother's Day. What I'm craving is something so incredibly different. And if you're a mother and you're listening to this, I got a feeling that you're like, yeah, please, we like food, but like, it's not enough. And I'm not necessarily saying you're asking for like diamonds and Louis Vuitton. Although, if that's your jam, no judge. I like nice things too. So the thing is, we want more. We want deeper. I want deeper. I want something that's like soul level honoring for Mother's Day. And I did some research. I was thinking ahead. I'm like, I do not want another Mother's Day to come and go where I don't feel just so nourished in my soul. So I do some research. What do I find online in my local area? Brunch, 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 brunch. And I'm like, okay, it doesn't really exist what I'm looking for as of now in my area. So I got to make it. So I decided to create, at first it was just going to be an in-person event. If you don't know, I'm in Tampa, Florida. So it will be Friday, May 5th in Tampa. Reach out to me if you'd like to talk about getting a ticket because it is a private location since it's an intimate experience that I'm facilitating. But I've also added a virtual option. And that's because I know that many of you are not in Tampa. So there is a virtual option now, Wednesday, May 3rd. Again, there will be a link in the show notes so that you can snag a ticket. And this is going to be a deep healing conversation on motherhood decoded. And I'm going to guide a healing meditation to help you heal the line, healing the lineage. Okay, more details to come as we get closer. The last announcement I have is private mentorship. So I have a couple ways that we do this. As always, reach out to me to see if it's a good fit. I have one spot available for private mentorship, like full private mentorship, which includes every single thing under the sun that I do and that I have and all of my tools and such. And then I have 2 spots open for light mentorship. There's a link in the show notes to apply. And if you want to reach out to me, we can talk more and see if it's a good fit and which option would be a good fit. Okay, without further ado, here's the episode. Warning. If the word authentic bothers you, I apologize in advance. That's not a word that I use very much. I don't often use authentic and authenticity in my business. However, I decided to talk more about it this week because I was reading what you wrote in the content survey. So however many people, several people filled out this content survey, and I've been going through and reading what you wrote. One of the questions was, what do you appreciate about my content? So I want to share with you the most common things that you guys were saying about my content. It's authentic. Authentic and authenticity were like the top words that were used. And then you also said it's real, it's transparent, it's valuable, and it's you. So I chose to use the word authentic to talk about and explore in this episode and really introduce how you can start to be more authentic in your content, because that was the most common thing that you used to describe me. Let's start with the definition. Authentic is defined as true to one's own personality, spirit, or character. Real, actual. So the question that came up for me is, why is this important? Why is it important to be authentic in life and in business? And I'll start with in life, and more specifically in motherhood, because many of people listening to my stuff are mothers or are in the motherhood space in some capacity. So it was important to me because, as you've heard me talk about on multiple episodes, I'm sure at this point, I think often about what I hope my kids will be, like how I hope they'll be in the world. And I've realized 9.5 years into this parenting gig that it's not about what I tell them I want them to do or what I try to teach them with my language, right? It's about what I be. They're watching everything I do. They're listening to the words that I say. They're picking up on the energy behind why I do different things. They often learn how to be based on how you be. So knowing that, I better be authentic. I want my children to be themselves. Don't we want that? Like, don't we want our children to move through the world feeling like it's safe for them to be themselves and to be unique and to express their individuality? Like, we want that for them. And then we look at ourselves and we're trying to water ourselves down to fit into boxes, right? We're hiding parts of us because we're afraid of being ourselves. We're afraid of expressing our individuality and our opinions and all of these things. So, like, do you see how there's a disconnect there? And when I realized that how I be is important to my children, I started taking action accordingly. It's part of why I took my breast implants out. It's part of why I did that whole explant process, because I had to model and demonstrate how I want to be in the world as expressed as the soul came to express itself. It's part of why I stopped flat ironing my hair and allowed my natural hair to just be, I mean, I use product and I use a diffuser. We can have a whole hair conversation separately. I'm totally open to that. But I no longer try to force it into submission with a hot iron. It's also a big motivating factor behind why I've fallen back in love with myself, with my body the way it is, with my skin, with its wrinkles, wherever they want to be, and with imperfections. And I had scars on my face recently from like healing from period acne. It's part of why I love the wrinkles and the rolls and the squishies and the cellulite and like whatever's on my body. I better love the crap out of my body if I hope that my children love their bodies. Because if I'm sitting here criticizing myself and attacking my body, but then I'm telling my children to love theirs, like that doesn't land. Now, why this is important in business is because, as we know, all of us have examples in our lives where we've either gone out into the world or met people online. And like, there are some, let's say, interesting individuals in the world, right? And online. And oftentimes, as a buyer, as a consumer, when you're out looking for service providers or you are hiring people to do different things with you, you're looking for people who you trust. You're looking for people who you feel are really being themselves, who are being honest, and people who you feel like you kind of get to know them from their online presence, whether it's videos you watch or their podcast or things that they write, if they're a writer, like people that you can really feel through their work. So what do you think that your potential clients of the world are looking at when they're looking for people to hire. Like many people in my community are doing really intimate, deep work with people. You might be a birth doula, you might be a fertility coach, you might be a healer, like you are doing some intense, or a therapist. You're doing the most intimate work in the world. And so it's incredibly important for you to let people get to know you, to let people in, and to be yourself, because there are some strange folks. Like we just heard a story out of Canada. I don't know all of the details, but I saw the gist that there was a woman in Canada who was sexually assaulting doulas and creating this whole, and she was a social worker. There are interesting humans in the world. And so it can feel, as a consumer, a little bit scary to invite people into these intimate spaces with you where you are going to like truly let your walls down and talk about really deep stuff and allow somebody to hold you through that when they're not like really letting you know who they really are. That's tricky. Okay. So it's very important, especially in our line of work, in heart-centered work, to let people get a feel for who we are. Let's use a first date for an example, right? So can you imagine, I haven't been on a first date in, I don't know, since I met my husband, 13 years, 14 years. Can you imagine going on a first date with somebody where they have their walls up and they're acting like someone else and they're being a everyday person, they're not fully being themselves? Like, how can you
Thank you so much for taking time out of your day and listening to this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you found value in what I'm sharing here. And if you did, can you do me a little favor and go and rate and review this episode? I will share a link in the show notes so that it's really easy to rate and review this podcast. It would mean a lot to me, as this is truly a passion project. Have a beautiful day, and I will see you next week.
Through the vehicle that is your work. So let's talk for a second about authenticity versus privacy, and privacy. So what I'm not telling you is that in order to be authentic, you need to talk about everything in your life. You need to be super vulnerable, peel the curtain all the way back and tell everybody everything about your life. And you're like, I can't talk about da 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 da. Like, this is too private. That's too private. Being authentic is not the same thing as being a wide open book. You can be authentically you and still keep certain parts of your life private. So, and again, please don't confuse this with like forced vulnerability, because there are coaches of the world. If you hang out with any business coaches and you follow social media accounts of other business coaches, like there sadly are coaches who really encourage you to be vulnerable when it's out of your comfort zone. And I do believe that can be harmful for some people, because what's the energy behind your desire to be vulnerable? Now, if you're being vulnerable truly for the sake of connection and creating safe spaces for other people to be vulnerable, I think that that's different than artificial vulnerability that you could be creating because somebody told you that that was the way to get clients. I do not recommend the latter. I do not think that it's important or helpful to forced vulnerability so that you can get clients. No, there's a big line here, right? So you can be authentic and have privacy. I am actually super private. I share quite a bit online, and I am me as F. I'm me. And there are segments of my life that the public knows nothing about. And it's not because of anything weird. It's not like hiding things. It's nothing like that. It's just there are people in my life who don't want certain parts of their life shared publicly. I don't want certain parts of my experience shared publicly, and that's okay. Think about motherhood, for example. I talk a lot about motherhood, but what you don't hear me talk a lot about is my specific children's experiences. There are certain things that I share, but a lot of what they're experiencing and a lot of the healing work that we're doing, that I'm doing on myself as a mother, and that I'm seeing the effects in my children, I'm going to say is the most important work of my life. And it's complicated because I don't even share it with you, like not fully. You know, I will share with you all kinds of my stories, right? I shared my breast explant story, my journey from getting implants to having them explanted and all the emotional stuff that came with it. And that I'm totally okay with, because that's me, that's my life, that's my experience. I'm an adult and I know what I'm comfortable sharing. I don't share about the deep, deep experiences that I'm having with my children. They're happening every day. And I don't share it because, for one, they are not adults. They don't know
They're not at a point in their life where they understand what it means to share their most intimate experiences publicly. And I don't know that they'll ever want to. So it feels to me, and this is not to judge you if you do this, but it feels to me like it feels inappropriate to share some of that. And it's complicated because it's what I'm most proud of. It's what I work on so deeply all the time. And not just through their experiences and me wanting to honor their privacy and honor where they're at and allow them to grow into adults privately and allow them to experience healing and experience growing up without sharing every single detail of what happens. I share some pictures, I'll celebrate their birthdays, I'll show certain things that we do on the weekends. But if you've noticed, the motherhood stuff that I share is through my lens. So when I shared my birth stories, I didn't share a lot about what I felt my children were experiencing in some of those events. I shared my birth story through my lens and the pieces of it that I was comfortable sharing. Obviously, there were pieces that I didn't share. Even the breast explant journey, there were certain parts of the healing journey that I didn't share publicly. And it's not because we're hiding or we're lying. It's not that. It's just you're allowed to have some experiences, any amount. You're allowed to have experiences in your life that are just for you. That's okay. And you can still be authentic. I can still be myself. I can still come in here and talk to you and share certain things with you and be super comfortable doing that with boundaries. That's what it really boils down to. It's having boundaries. And truly, even doing the motherhood healing that I've been doing on myself, I don't share a lot of that either. Like me becoming the version of myself as a mother that I only dreamed was possible is so nuanced. There's so much sometimes that I want to share. I just haven't yet figured out how to do that because there are other parties, there are other people who I honor their privacy and I honor their journey. And I don't want to make them uncomfortable and I don't want to put those things out there. So what I'll say about all of that is something that you can ponder. You can have boundaries and still be authentic, right? You can also share things and people can feel your evolution. They can feel your energy without you saying certain words. Great example of this is like recently a mom at one of my kids' events asked me some questions and she's like, hey, and I've never really had much conversation with her. It's usually just been like, hey, hi, how are you? Yes, that's great. Okay. She's lovely. And then we went into a deeper conversation this past time that I saw her. And she said, I have to tell you, I was reading some of your stuff on Facebook and I felt like you would understand this. And she presented me with some stuff that I do understand and stuff that I do resonate with, even though I've never overtly said those words on social media. It's really hard to explain this without saying the words, but I hope you're getting what I'm saying. People can feel your energy and you can talk about things without necessarily sharing all the private pieces or sometimes your private opinions. Like in this example, it was a perspective that she had that she thought I would get and she wanted to talk to somebody about it. And I was like, I totally get it. I want to talk to you about it too. Let's do it. And I've never wrote those things on Facebook. I feel like I might not be doing this justice, but here we go. Okay, so how can you start being more authentic in your content, in your online business, in your business in general, in your life? How can you start to feel like you're being more you? This is not one of those things that you're like, I'm going to be me, and you snap your fingers and it's done. Not in my experience anyway. In my experience, it's been an evolution. So 2 pieces I'll share with you. One is start to decondition. So start to become aware of the way that you talk or the things that you say or the way that you write in different situations. When you're sitting with your partner, it's a little bit different of a version than when you're sitting with your best friend. It's a little bit different version than when you're sitting with your children. It's still all you, and you can still be authentic with all of the spaces, even though you might show up a little bit differently, and that's normal. But where can you recognize, like, am I really being authentic to me in this interaction, in this engagement? And what you're going to do is start to decondition and lift off the layers of conditioning where it's actually not you, where you may have been speaking in such a way that you were trying to fit in, diluting yourself so that you blend in, right? We talked about this recently on the podcast. Like, start to become aware of where you don't really feel like you're being yourself. And then the next piece that I'll share with you is the good news is you're already you. So trying to be something should be pretty easy when it's already in you, right? Like you already have it in you. You have a unique energetic signature. You have a unique human design. You have a unique perspective. Your experiences are unique. Your coding, what you came to this world and entered this body with, is unique. So you don't have to try to create your authentic voice. It's already there. It's just that I believe over time and with outside noise interfering, it's become a little bit diluted or watered down, or you've tried to fit in, or. So it's more a matter of practicing flexing that muscle. And sometimes what that means is like having conversations, communicating, writing, talking to a video, making podcasts, whatever that looks like, having conversations at the mom groups, practicing using your voice and feeling what it feels like when you're like, yeah, that's me. That feels like me. Talking about Beyonce in private conversations on Voxer with a client, using Beyonce as a business example in certain instances, that's me. And so to make it really simple for you to do this step, just practice. And like anything else, it's not that I don't believe in practice makes perfect, but I do believe that the more you do something, the easier it feels, the more aligned it feels, the more it flows. So you got to get out there and practice. Now, a little bit of hard truth said with love. Being an entrepreneur isn't for everyone. Establishing an online presence isn't for everyone. Creating and sharing content isn't for everyone. And I firmly believe that everyone can do it. It's just a matter of, is it something that your soul desires? Does your soul desire to express itself through creativity? Content is really just a form of creativity. It's just a tool for creativity. Can we shift the way we look at content? And when you think about it that way, do you have a desire to express yourself creatively? If you do, and it feels really fun for you to create content, it matches really well with creating an online presence or with being an entrepreneur and building a business. It all works really well together. Because the thing is, it's not enough anymore. So a lot of entrepreneurs, I feel like, got in this cycle, in this rut of, I have to create content to get clients to build a business. I have to educate and inspire online for people to hire me. I don't think it's about that anymore. I don't believe that we want content to just be educational or give an inspiring quote and then be done. I don't really think that that's where we're going. And I don't think that it's enough anymore to want to create reels that use trending sounds so that you get eyes on your work. I don't think that's enough anymore. The ticket isn't going viral, even though that can be fun. I don't think that's enough anymore. I don't think any of these things are enough anymore. If you want to create authentic content, then you have to do it for the sake of creating authentic content and for the sake of creative expression. When you shift into that space, the way that you create is wicked different. And the way people receive you and the way people that they build a relationship with you and they feel like they get to know you and they feel like you are someone they can trust. Naturally, eventually, if something that you're offering is something that they desire and they know, like, and trust you, then there's a good chance you're going to work with them at some point. Okay, I hope this was helpful and I believe in you. I know you can do it. Have a great week.
Thank you so much for taking time out of your day and listening to this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you found value in what I'm sharing here. And if you did, can you do me a little favor and go and rate and review this episode? I will share a link in the show notes so that it's really easy to rate and review this podcast. It would mean a lot to me, as this is truly a passion project. Have a beautiful day, and I will see you next week.